Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Bone Podcast, where we discuss all things crypto market. That includes the majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, meme coins, and of course, NFTs. Today, we're going to discuss the market pullback after the U.S. entered the Middle East conflict. We're going to talk about the new ETF approval odds coming out of the Bloomberg bros, and we're going to talk about what we are looking to trade this week. Sorry, a little bit of a hiccup there. I had a little echo in my ear. All things are corrected now. We had a lot going on over this weekend. Busy weekend. We're going to break it all down. I'm joined today by Easy Eats Bodega and Signal. Sig, it's been a week. How you feeling today?
Feeling good, Ray. I'm feeling good. I feel rich. Gotta say, I feel rich. My circle stock is up only. And I got in that early, man. I got in that first week of the IPO when it was like, I want to say when we were talking about the show that first week, it was like 69, like around $70, one or 2 days into it. And after the show, we were like, is this a buy? And I was thinking in the back of my head, yeah. So I went and clicked the buy button, and now it's at 240. It's just a beautiful up only. So yeah, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. How's tricks with you, Ray?
How's tricks? We talked about this pre-show. Signal asked me, how's tricks? I said, what are you talking about? What does this mean? Easy. Do you know what how's tricks mean?
If I say to you, hey, Easy, how's tricks?
It sounds like how's kicks.
Oh, how's kicks?
Yeah, this is good.
How is kicks? I haven't seen kicks in ages, actually.
Well.
I'm really curious. Please comment if you know what how's tricks means, which basically means how are you? Like, how are you doing? How's business? And apparently, I was told this many, many years ago. It's a term that pimps used to ask prostitutes back in the day in the east of London, where it was just like, how's business? How many men have you slept with? Basically, they're asking. That's what they used to ask. So it's how's business, basically. How things going? How's moving? You making money? So yeah, it's a question to you, Ray. How's tricks?
Bachelor Society beat me to it. For the next thing I thought of, tricks is for kids. Is the next thing. The cereal. Yeah, silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. I've never heard of it. I'm generally curious if anyone else has. I looked at you like you had three eyes when you said that to me this morning. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. How are things? I don't know. I mean, we have a lot to talk about. We have the U.S. entering the Middle East. So we saw markets absolutely dump upon that, recover a little bit.
The S&P doesn't seem to give a shit, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, we're green in the pre-market right now, right?
S&P does not give a shit. Like, yeah, I've got puts on the S&P that I bought on Friday. They're up, but looks like pre-market doesn't give a shit. Pre-market's up.
Are Gen Z the traders now? I just need to know, are the millennials out and the Gen Z traders in? Because I feel like when the millennials were trading and there's a war, S&P goes down. And now that Gen Zs are traders, I feel like it's just up only. Easy.
But I think it runs the news. Because if you look, 620, we were at 600, and we sold off like 2% all the way down to 594 on the S&P. And dating even back to the 16th. So like mid last week, we were up 602. We've made new lows over the 7-day, which like that just to me shows that like we are still kind of selling off pretty hard. And as crazy as it sounds, like for someone who's like a very active short-term trader, I've been looking at higher time frames a lot more. Like that's where it's more interesting to me right now is to look at like the 4-hour, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week versus the 5, 15, 30 for minutes. The S&P's got like some pretty substantial open gaps, and gaps usually get filled for those unaware. Like what that means is when there's a big pre-market move that leaves a gap open on the chart where there's no candlesticks, it's it's interesting. It's interesting.
Wait, so Ray, sorry, go back on that. So when it gaps up,
yeah,
sorry,
so
Easy.
right
What does
there.
that mean?
So like, what I look at here, let me actually open up my trading view because I have these gaps open. And the thing is, it's like short-term bounces are not uncommon in a market, especially like when you have late shorts, which it seems have kind of entered here. That's what I'm like more watching here. So if you look at this, we have two pretty big gaps. This is what I watch. So we actually have three massive gaps. There's one all the way down at 530. If we get this, that's like, if we get this red box, it's basically World War V. We get the blue box, they probably dropped a nuke. That blue box is the sell-off we got from February to April, basically all the way down. And that was the box that correlated with the tariff situation that me and Nick kept talking about. I can even remove these fibs so it's a little bit cleaner. This whole, like, that whole area, this blue box was where I was like, yeah, if we touch this, you full port. That's where I started buying Robinhood, was down here, and we got a nice rally back. But as the market trades and opens in pre-market, post-market action, because charts only show 9:30 to, I think it's 4 p.m. trading hours, the candles leave open spots in these charts. So, like, if you zoom in, we have a pretty big open spot here from 564 to 576. Open spot down here, which we can look at from 534 to 527. And historically, these spots get filled. So perfect example is this down action at 554 got filled back here. Gaps here got filled here on the downtrend. Here got filled here before pushing back higher. So usually you look for those areas of confluence where there's like big buy orders that can come in. And typically that's where there's a lot of like institutional capital waiting. This is the one that a lot of good traders I follow are kind of calling for, this 570 to 576 area. So a little bit higher would be like right around here, pushing back to like right here. That's the one that I'm still closely watching. And the wider market for me is where I'm like, okay, if we do continue to have uncertainty, those gaps are what I'm watching. We're still holding support that dates back to May. Right now that we broke above, we break under this. We, in my opinion, test 586. Under 586, we'll close the box down to 570. And the S&P is still the leading indicator, regardless of what people say. Bitcoin looks terrible, like comparatively. That's the crazy part, is this looks like pretty bad. We got that wick all the way down to 98K, which I've had this line drawn dating back to November of last year as support. So we got November support. 98 breaks, it opens the door to like 93K. I think 96 is probably still in play too. Like you could probably have this whole range right here is where I'm a buyer if we get that low. And when I say buyer, I mean like more substantial size. Like that orange box is what I look for support and resistance. The issue here, when you look, you want higher lows and higher highs. So you want price action. You would have wanted this candle to be closer to like 112. Since we did not make a new high and ultimately we're still here, it seemed like we were going to get that downtrend. Now we've got a new low, new low, new low, 3 consecutive new lows, higher high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Until we break back above 105, we don't make a new high, which is bearish for like long enough time frames. I say that, but I am long ETH right now. So like I'm long a small position on ETH. I was short from Friday night to Sunday, which was like a great trade because if you take a look at that, it's like we were short from like here, like right around this consolidation area. I almost got stopped out on this, and then we just nuked. And I sold right around here, right under this dip under 2,300. I probably could have kept it open for another candle. I had like 185% return on the trade. I was very happy with it. Overall, though, a lot of crypto price action and structure still just kind of looks pretty low. Sol dipped under 120, 125, under 130. I had said 130 was like the high side. Under that looks like a buy. Under 98K on Bitcoin looks like a buy. And under 2150 on ETH looked like a buy. We got that dip to 2100. We got under 130 on Sol. And we got under 98 on Bitcoin. Or just tapped the 98 on Bitcoin. So it seems like the short-term bounce makes a lot of sense. I don't know how long this will be sustained. It looks like we're not going to get rate cuts in July. If you look at Polymarket odds, it's like 84% chance no cut. September looks more likely for the cut. I think we could chop down for the summer unless we get ceasefire news in Israel and Iran, which will cause a run back up. I had put out like a longer-term thesis that kind of traded into it. And that to me was the one that I'm like closely thinking plays out. I'm a big fan of the Kobayashi letter. It's a newsletter that drops like macro analysis. And this was almost spot on with kind of what I thought too. They said there's a situation where this weekend's events lead to a faster conclusion of the conflict, which was kind of what I was thinking. Strikes on Iran were the most unexpected event of the war. Like we basically knew we were going to do something, right? We've been calling out these nuclear situations, basically been saying they need to stop this, all that stuff. If anything, the U.S. now appears strong after months of threatening rhetoric from Trump to Iran. So they finally did action. You can now see there's no more baseless claims. It also allows Israel to now successfully say that they destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities. And now Iran, by threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, strikes on Israel and potential retaliation against the US, they can say that they basically forced out Israel in the US. So all of this stuff is playing out into the thesis that I had, which was market sold off preemptively Thursday and Friday. We saw on Polymarket, somebody took out like a mid to high six-figure trade on the US involvement in Iran before the end of June, printed a fat bag. So clearly the secret attack wasn't terribly secret. Somebody knew, obviously. They put it was like their only trade on the platform. There was also a deleted Reddit post where someone broke down exactly what was going to happen and was tracking the B-2 bombers since Friday night or Friday morning for the 36-hour flight. So clearly people knew that this was like going down. I thought we'd get a gap down Monday. Turns out we're basically trading flat at open right now. S&P futures are at 594.8, so we're up 0.6, like 0.1%. I said Russia won't get involved, which they've already confirmed. They're going to try to stay diplomatic. And also, basically, their entire war and military operations are completely overextended in Ukraine. So it'd be very difficult for them to divert the Ukrainian situation to then go into Iran for a war that they don't need to get involved in. I said that I think the World War III is going to be removed after a few days of uncertainty. Ceasefire will occur mid to late next month. So I'm giving us a little bit of a wiggle room, a little bit of a timeline. I thought we might grind up on majors. It looks like this is probably the most incorrect move. I do think we get a more aggressive move upward in August, specifically late August, to front run the rate cuts in September. So I just kind of like aired out how I'm trading this market and what I'm looking at. I'm trading much shorter time frames for leverage and low leverage. I'm talking like the one thing I don't like is Hyperliquid says it's a 20x, but I use cross margin, which means like my entire balance could be liquidated that's in perps. So it's a much smaller position since I'm not full porting my margin. It's like a 3 or 4x leverage. It's my liquidation price is like 1,800. So if we get all the way down to 1,800 on ETH, it's a lot uglier than most think because that would date us all the way back to when was the last time we were 1,800? We would have to date back to late April, which that would be surprising to me if we pushed all the way back to those prices. I think 2K probably holds on ETH. We'll see. The Bitcoin thing's interesting and S&P is the most interesting. But long-winded rant, I think the market major concerns are basically over and the S&P is starting to show some signs that it agrees. I do have some larger concerns, obviously, with the orange man in office because anything he says is hit or miss. Either it'll send the market or dump the market. There's really no in between. We do have midterm elections next year, which is why I think later in the year we end up rallying pretty hard. Just because you need the financial markets to look good going into that. And if they're not, you're going to lose House and Senate, which basically makes it impossible. So that's where my head is. Like if I break down everything that I'm looking at, a lot of people think like I'm just clicking buttons and being a degenerate, but there is some thesis that goes into it. Like I saw the S&P starting to sell early Friday and I was like, okay, speculation of an attack this weekend. Market can't price in the attack. That's why I went short the S&P and then why I went short ETH. And I like to trade ETH on leverage, as crazy as that sounds, just because it does tend to lag and also have more volatile moves. Like you can trade SOL as well, but ETH gives you higher leverage, which means lower liquidation prices and more volatile moves than Bitcoin. So it's kind of why I prefer trading ETH on leverage. It's very liquid, very easy to get in and out of positions, great fills on all leverage platforms. DYDX has the best fills, but besides that, it's my personal favorite when I'm leverage trading. Just because like you look at Bitcoin, it barely broke under 100. ETH sold off from 2,800 all the way down in June. So you got like 25, 30% candle down. So it's just kind of where my head is with this. If I'm looking for trades, it's all short term right now, unless we get some of those buy zones on the S&P and Bitcoin. You need majors to kind of decide.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. Long ETH here is interesting. I'm worried that we're just going to retrace this entire run up we had.
I'm closing it soon. My big thing is if the S&P has a decent open in 12 minutes, it'll push the market. Like, dude, my take profits at 22.75, like a $25 move. I'm already in the green on it. I'm already up like 30-40%. So I'm not looking for a big swing. It was just buying the low after we finally got a breakout candle. That was it for me. It was like, if I'm trading this, my target is to just catch this bounce and see where the market actually opens, because we finally got to break back above some indicators I use, which is just exponential moving average.
Easy. When you do these catch bounces, sorry, I was going to write, when you do like, I'm trying to catch the bounce, Are you only doing it on majors like ETH, or are you doing it on anything with like meme coins that you really like, or any alt tokens or anything like that?
I will never catch a bounce on a meme coin. I bought hype though. So I bought more hype around $33. That was the area where I was like, okay, this is holding up like exceptionally well compared to the market. Like, dude, hype's up 7% today. Like crazy move. Where I'm like, okay, if this is gonna hold this well with Bitcoin down 1%, ETH down a little under 0.5%, and then you have Sol up 1.7, hype up 7%, and Fartcoin up 8%. Hype was the one where I felt more comfortable trading it. Once again, just it's a liquidity situation on it. Memes for me right now, I'm taking like 1-2 trades tops on memes at the moment, like a day or every other day. If like there's just a decent narrative or something viral that I'm like, oh, this is interesting. For the most part, though, it's a lot tougher for me to want to buy memes. Like the only meme I would want to try to catch a dip on would be Fartcoin, just because it's shown such consistent strength every single time.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, like, yeah, hype rebounded, and Fartcoin definitely rebounded like more than everything else. But over the last 7 days, like they almost like front ran the dips on the majors.
It sold off wicked hard too.
Yeah.
Like Sol went under 130 for the first time in like 3 months, and hype sold. Dude, hype had like 7 consecutive down days. Like it was so annoying because it went from 44. If we look at the daily, it had 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive down days after 1, 2, 3 days of chop, 4 days of chop. So you basically had like these lower highs, lower lows until it finally made a new low at you could have bought just under 30 on the 21st, which is crazy. Like if you had fills at 30, you got a beautiful trade on that. Absolutely beautiful trade.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, up 8% on the day. One of the leading tokens on the day, down 20% on the week though, compared to majors. Only down like 5 to 15%. We have a lot to talk about. I want to unpack more. I want to get into some Polymarket bets too. But before we do, Signal, why don't we do the weather report real quick, and then we'll just kind of dive in a little bit further.
Yeah, let's get into the weather report so we can see what's been going on Monday, June 23rd. Looking at that crypto roundup, the majors, they are even on the day with Bitcoin at 101,000, Ethereum just over 2,200, and Solana at $135. Over the weekend, top 3 stories. Well, firstly, the US bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran on Saturday evening. On Sunday, Iran's parliament passed a motion to close the Strait of Hormuz pending further approval. Bitcoin dipped from 107K before the attack to as low as 98K before recovering on Sunday evening. Next up, inside sources reveal that Pump Fun has delayed their token sale. The sale, which was originally meant to go live on June 25th, has been delayed to mid-July, and full details of the sale are not currently available. And then lastly, Bloomberg analysts released updated ETF approval odds on Friday. Litecoin, Solana, and XRP have been bumped up to 95% approval odds, and Doge, Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, and Avalanche have increased to 90%. That is all for the weather report. It is back to you folks in the studio.
Excellent weather report as always. Interesting to see ETFs are going to get a bit of a bump here. One thing you were talking about in your show this morning, Easy, that I'm kind of interested in doing as well is looking into Polymarket at some of these like bets around what's happening in the Middle East, both as like kind of like a way to maybe make some money or also to potentially like hedge downside risk. So like, did you find any of these that were interesting to you in terms that you actually made a play on?
I mean, so when I look at Polymarket, dude, we have the thing that I want to do with Polymarket is basically look for what I think is going to be like free yield if you can hold something for a week, right? Like you have this Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz before July, so you have 7 days there. You have 7 days for acknowledgement that Fordo nuclear facility was destroyed. I would take this Fordo one and net 32% on my dollar because Iran's already said they're rebuilding it. They would have said it was destroyed. It's also the big thing with Polymarket is figuring out what classifies this. Destroyed means that the underground enrichment facilities housing centrifuges are rendered non-functional either through physical destruction, collapse, or targeted strike. Iran basically said that they moved the enriched materials, so that's not going to happen. There was no increase in nuclear like whatever it is, waste or the radar that was looking at it. And there was no confirmation that it was collapsed. The US said it was destroyed. Seems like it's a blip. Like if you look this weekend, it was at 82% and has since basically tanked. So clearly the market doesn't believe it was destroyed. And if something comes out that it was, it's tough to say if it'll happen in the next week. So I like that for like a very small, just net some money on it.
How do you like what qualifies?
It says
this is a whack bet. I'm going to be honest, because it will be official confirmation from Iran confirming the site has been destroyed, so they're not going to do it.
Exactly. But then the other thing is a wide consensus of credible reporting may also be used. So if you get something from like the UK, something from Israel, something from the US, 3 different locations, all saying it. The other thing to call out, though, is destruction of the centrifuges through cyber attacks without the destruction of the facilities will not qualify. So basically, even if they shut down the operation but don't destroy the physical facility, it's not destroyed.
So far, the only person who's been accurate with all these predictions, I just want to shout out him and congratulate him, is myself. I, on Friday, declared that the bombing will happen on Saturday.
Did you take action on it?
I'm just talking about being the Nostradamus of this show.
I like that.
I just want people to understand the sort of prediction capabilities that exist within me. And so just kind of, I'd like some recognition for that. And I'd also like to say, no, I don't like to bet on these things. People bet on what I say. The most interesting one here is the New York mayor. That to me is interesting.
Wait, so just before we move on to the New York mayor, either you said earlier that there'd been a trade, like one trade, new account specifically for the attack will happen. Where did you hear about that? Was that just on Twitter, or was that some data that you were looking at?
No, it was on Twitter. They had the account. They showed and then you can just go and look it up, like go and find it. So like Polymarket's public. It does use blockchain data, so you can see it all. So there was that, and then the Reddit thread. In the Reddit thread, you can view with like there's like a time thing that I forget what the website is, that you can go back in time and look at like previous posts, even if they've been deleted on the internet. And I went on that and it was there. So somebody like basically tracked the entire B2 bomber move Friday. It was like, yeah, this looks like they're going to do it. And then there was a massive position placed on Polymarket, like a very substantial size bet. So I saw those and it was like, okay, like I went short because clearly, Wayback Machine, that's what it is. But I went short just because it was like, okay, if all these things are playing out, the market definitely has it priced in us actually attacking them, especially crypto. Like crypto is still kind of pushing. So Nick was right. Kudos to Nick.
Thank you for the recognition.
No, it's good that we have Nostradamus on the team, because that's definitely giving us like qualitative information. But I feel like if we want quantitative, follow the money information, what Easy is saying is like you put those two together. That makes things interesting, because then you can position yourself to make interesting bets, because we're seeing this all the time. Like certain platforms are attracting large capitals of money for certain trades. And in the end, it turns out, oh, hey, that anonymous account was correct. So Easy, I just like the quantitative approach of this, of just following the money around these macro events.
Nick, why is the New York City Dem interesting to you? Dem nomination.
Just like first of all, you got Andrew Cuomo suddenly back in politics. Turns out you can come back from sexual harassment charges. So as a man, I'm really excited about that. That's like, that means like we can keep up with that sort of
fighting the patriarchy.
Fighting on behalf of.
Yeah, fighting for the patriarchy, not fighting them.
Exactly. So I want things to go back to the way that they were, know. Yep. And then remember when like just a few years ago, Me Too would have been canceled. It would have felt like your life was over. So in all seriousness, this guy came out of nowhere, and really it seemed to have been on an anti-Israel movement, has been part of it. I also saw this like YouTube video that was talking about how the millionaires and real estate companies are in the pockets of Andrew Cuomo. So the fact that this guy is winning despite not having a huge, the same amount of money is pretty crazy. This is a grassroots movement, essentially, this guy. He's also classifies himself as a democratic socialist. So this is the most left-leaning mayor that would ever exist for New York. And New York City actually has strong pockets of conservatism that exists, including like in Queens, I believe they certain chunks of it actually voted for Trump. Most people view New York as this like liberal city, which it is, but it also has actually a fairly decent size of conservatives, which is why you would expect a more moderate politician. But it turns out all of those, like all the marches in the streets that people have been seeing were like pro-Palestine, anti-Israel marches that were happening in New York. There's like a pretty big movement toward this guy. Who did you just bet on?
Cuomo.
Oh, why?
I think that just looking at this reaction on the 7-day where this guy came out of nowhere and basically flipped him, it just feels like this is going to move back at some point, basically strictly based on like this absurd price action here. Also, like you said, I don't know if New York is necessarily going to lean towards like socialists. It looks like Bernie Sanders backing Zohran versus Clinton backing Cuomo, which is kind of ironic, given their histories. I don't know.
I mean, the bigger problem is Andrew Cuomo isn't a very likable guy at this moment in time, if I'm being honest. I'm like, I saw that he was running. I'm like, wait, that guy's back? He came back from the dead? Like, what happened? First, he was like, I mean, he was the COVID kind of the face of kind of counter to Trump during COVID. Andrew Cuomo was like was the face of COVID, I would say, at that moment in time. His daily briefings were like a major thing. And then but then he gets in trouble for the sexual harassment scandal. And he just comes off as kind of like, I don't know, he's not a very likable guy. Like, I don't know. So
okay, speaking as an outsider here, and I don't know who these candidates are. I don't know these people, and I don't know their backstory. But what I do know is what has been going on in the US since Trump has taken position, and there's been a lot. I'm just going to say the guy in 5 months he's done a lot. Do you not like my opinion on this? Is basically maybe people of New York want somebody who is completely different to Trump, and the outcome will be a reflection of wanting somebody in power who is nothing like Trump.
Yeah, it could be a counter position to Trump. That definitely could be the case. So far, by the way, Ray is down on his bets so far. Just point that out. Things are moving quickly in New York City. When is the yeah, I think your analysis is right. I haven't been even paying enough attention to it, but I have been seeing it. And then I saw this video the other day about Andrew Cuomo being in the pockets of these real estate people. And one of the biggest issues was there's like they're basically able to, there was a tax that was supposed to pass where the pied-à-terre tax, which essentially was you had to pay more tax if you had a pied-à-terre over $1 million or something like that. I forget the entire logistics. But basically what was happening was it was a big issue for real estate developers because demand for their properties would go down. And there's a ton of development that's happened around Midtown where Billionaires Row and all this other stuff is happening where people are buying all these properties. And so it was going to impact those developers that are buying these high-end or building these high-end condos. And so Andrew Cuomo was the person that came in and basically prevented that bill from passing, and it just kind of went away. And they're concerned that it's going to come back, which it frankly should, because New York has like insanely expensive rent, property. Like it's just expensive to live there. So I don't know. I mean, That said, as a multi pied-à-terre owner, I'm kind of against Andrew Cuomo here, but for Andrew Cuomo from that standpoint. But in all honesty, all they've been developing is more and more insanely luxury high rises, not accessible properties, basically, which makes it quite difficult. So if you're looking for more of the same, go with Andrew Cuomo. If you're looking for a revolution, you're looking for Zohran Mamdani. And is he Persian?
I don't know.
Mamdani. I mean, I'm not trying to typecast people or be a stereotyping type of person, but I'm guessing Mamdani comes from I'm going to look this up, where he originates from.
Born in Uganda and raised in New York City. He'd be Ugandan.
A white Ugandan.
No, he's more likely probably to be of Indian descent in some kind of way. There's a lot of Indians in East Africa, but I think he has
There
the
we
better
go.
name. I know nothing about him, but he has a much better name than Andrew.
Indian descent. You were right, Signal.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, he sounds like he's either going to take over the world or he's going to lead the world with a name like Zohran. So I know nothing about the game, but that's who I'm going to bet on Polymarket, and that comes straight from Nostradamus, who has multiple pieds-à-terre in New York. Huh?
No one in the U.S. knows pied-à-terre, the term, which is just.
It's basically just, and it's just like you own a second property in a country and you go back and use it occasionally. It's basically a holiday home.
I actually don't.
Near the beach.
I don't like this guy. He's like, there's been a lot of like anti-Semitic stuff going on in New York City, which is, and this is where things get messed up. Did you guys see the conversation between, oh my God, who's the former Fox News correspondent that's now just on X?
Tucker
Carlson.
There you go.
And I've always hated this guy. Yo, Easy, your options are getting wrecked, huh?
They're mid next month, and they're 594s. I'm currently down 4.5%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like not bad. The expiration is July 25th for in the money, 594. So now they're down $1.
I'm curious how Circle is, whether or not my puts would have done well. I got out of
No,
them.
they're up again.
They're up again?
Mm-hmm.
On the 1 minute, it doesn't. You're looking at a 1 minute chart here, Ray.
I was for the open.
Daily.
Wow. Why does this only have 2 days of? Oh, there you go. What?
Yeah, gapped up.
Jesus
that's why I only see it, because it's been up only.
Hold on. We switched away. I just want to wrap this up. I don't like this guy. I don't like either of them. We end up in just a shitty opportunity for the New York City mayor. And it's gone. I mean, this is just garbage. I don't know. I don't like this guy.
Fair.
Wait,
Markets
so why are we
just
talking
open.
about Tucker Carlson? Sorry, why are we talking about Tucker
Sorry,
Carlson?
the Tucker Carlson thing. He went on. Did you see his interview with who's the Texas senator? Ted Cruz. So he does this interview, and I mean, it's incredible to watch. Like, you should watch this thing just for the entertainment value, because they're just going after each other. Ted Cruz calls Tucker Carlson basically anti-Semitic, but doesn't use those words. But like, he's insulting Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is going back and insulting him. It's just like good content, which I hate, because I hate both of these people. Ted Cruz is like a very big like Iran hawk, essentially. And Tucker Carlson sounded like the voice of reason in this interview, which is wild. Like, it's just wild that that's actually how it sounded. But the synopsis here, which I'll say about this and we'll move on. is basically AIPAC, one of the American Israeli Political Action Committee. They're one of the largest lobbyists in the U.S. They are generally pro-Israel and generally give pro-Israel talking points around various initiatives that Israel has. Tucker Carlson was in the interview basically being like, yeah, that's the Israeli lobbying firm. And Ted Cruz is like, whoa, 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 whoa. By the way, he's received a ton of money from him. That is not a state-run lobbying firm. And Tucker Carlson is like, it's not. Like, they're not giving, because they're not registered as a lobbying firm. And the reason is he's like, it's just a group of people getting together talking about things. And they've also, and at these things where he's like, yeah, they just get a bunch of people together at like dinners and stuff. And I raise money from them. They like, oftentimes, I get like, $50,000 to go to like a dinner or something like that. But like, it's just a group of people. And so like the way that they're like discussing this just shows how ridiculous lobbying has gotten. And then the thing that pisses me off, and this is something that AIPAC has always done, is they equate Israel is a Jewish state, but as someone who's Jewish, I don't feel they represent the Jews, basically. And that's what Ted Cruz basically, and everyone who's associated with AIPAC oftentimes, basically says if you're or against Israel or you disagree with their policies, you're anti-Semitic. And that to me is such a ridiculous thing. And so that was the thing, just observing that was ridiculous. And that's also why it's not clear if this guy, the New York City, the guy who's Mamandi, who's of Indian descent, my apologies, to all the Persians that watch this show. We have a large cohort of them. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that like they're basically grouping him as anti-Semitic when I think he may be anti-Israel, essentially. So that's kind of the situation. And New York is like clearly a hotbed of this because there's 6 million Jews that live in New York City, which is the same number as Israel. And so there's a lot of anti-Israel Jews that live in New York that are basically pro this guy. And so this is like really like a controversial thing. Anyways, so that's the situation going on.
All right. I'm hearing noise. Yes, that's it. I'm hearing Easy type. That means Easy doesn't want to participate anymore, and we need to move on to the next topic. I'm hearing you loud and clear, Easy, with the typing. Thank you. Back to Ray.
She doesn't even have the headphones on, and she could hear that typing, dude.
I know. I don't even need the headphones.
She didn't even have the headphones on.
I'm looking at the Strait of Hormuz closure. Oil prices are basically steady right now. We spiked up like briefly on oil futures. We're looking at a 25% chance of closure on Polymarket, but today
way down on the odds of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah. This morning, Trump is just going to Twitter saying like, keep the prices down. I'm watching you. And then telling like the Department of Energy to like drill right now. So like, I wonder if like there's more that's going to be happening here, that there's going to be more strikes or something that would, potentially have Iran close this. But everything I've seen is basically saying like it's too important to like other allies like China that they wouldn't risk closing this. It's kind of like a last ditch type.
Wasn't this the one that got blocked a few years ago with some tankers that got stuck? Remember, and everyone was like, "There's stuck in the Strait of Hormuz." And you
I think they did get stuck in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, "We can't get hummus into the supermarkets." That's why I remember this one. This is
I need my hummus, like straight up. I look.
No, it was the Suez Canal.
Oh, really?
It was the Suez Canal.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Easy just looked it up.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we should do.
I don't know. I think they're going to keep the Strait of Hormuz open because they're making money on that thing. I'm assuming there's some taxes or something paid. Does Iran Does Iran generate revenue?
I mean, dude, China's like one of the biggest shippers through it. They're not going to let that thing shut down.
Iran generates significant revenue from the Strait of Hormuz through oil exports, as nearly all of oil exports terminals are located in the Persian Gulf and must pass through the Strait. But do they pay a... no, they don't correct revenue from other countries using the Strait. That's crazy. They should just tax that.
Yeah, this area here is the Strait, essentially. This little bend, and all these dots on the screen are boats, basically taking oil from Iraq, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. It's like they're...
Listen to how Ray pronounces these countries, dude. Like an American, like a real American.
That's me, but operational right now. And like I said, I think it's too valuable to Iran allies that they would close it. So I just took no, that they're not going to close it in the next week. As just
these aren't Iran allies. So that was racist.
China.
Okay, there you go.
Is what I said earlier. I was calling back to when I said China being Iran's ally.
I thought you were talking about the other Middle Easterns, which they're not.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm well versed here.
Saudi is an enemy. Saudi. Enemy.
Yep. So I just took that bet. I'm also taking no Fed rate cuts this year as a last bet on Polymarket today. I don't think we see cuts. I don't think it happens.
No Fed rate cut when?
No Fed rate cuts this year.
This year?
None.
That's a good bet, Ray.
It's time decay. We keep seeing like meeting after meeting, and it's going into each one. You're not seeing any chance of rate cuts. September was like 80% earlier. Now September's down to a coin flip. October's a coin flip. So I think like we might see rate cuts, but I think that this is going to be a time decay bet where I can get this up to at least 30, 40% and just earn a little bit of yield over time for just money that's sitting in my Polymarket account.
I feel you.
It feels as if as well, like trying to navigate whatever major market geopolitical event the current U.S. administration is going to cause is pretty difficult. So I think, if inflation is just crab walking along and not doing a lot, I think getting to the end of the year with no rate cuts rate is actually a pretty good bet on Polymarket. What's your bet?
30%. I just put 50 to win 250 essentially.
Okay.
But I think I can sell it off. I think I'd sell it off for a 50%. I think we can get back to 30% odds. Not going to get cut. So the next cut is in September. So it's like even a couple months away from the next FOMC.
Easy. What's your take on that? No rate cuts for the whole year.
We'll have a cut this year.
Actually, sorry. July would be the next one. 86% no in July, then September.
September. I don't think we 50-50 toss up, but I think we get a cut this year.
I didn't make my circle trade last week. I closed it. These puts are still looking very good. This is for options that expire on Friday. Right now, for each put, it's the mid is for like 230, for example. We're currently at 260. A 230 selling a put option right now is trading at $12.75. So you get $1,280 for selling one of these. If you go down a little bit. All right. Let's take the counter to Nick.
Oh, I was asking, Easy is the counter. I think it's interesting to have both sides of it. Easy was talking about buying puts. You were talking about selling puts.
What do you think here, Easy?
It's tough to say. I mean, the market doesn't look like it actually gives a shit about the war right now, which is even tougher. Like, it does seem like this sell-off already happened. S&P's showing some strength. You got I think Bitcoin runs it back to 104, which would push Circle higher. So I think selling the put is probably the play, especially if there's a fat premium. Like, Nick, what would I put at like 200 pay.
Well, not as much, but I just went and placed the order for the put. Got it.
Which strike did you sell?
I'm going close. I'm at 230.
For this Friday?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's risky. I wanted more cash. I wanted $1,300 to come my way, and your boy just got $1,300. Let's talk about that shit right now, bro. I'm sick. I'm so sick. Nailed it.
We'll check this line throughout the week. This will be that'll be an interesting one for sure.
I mean, so what was the what was the one that you were looking for, Easy, that you wanted to sell?
200.
Let me just give you real quick the price on the 200. We're going with the put, sell to open. We're going at 200. You're going that low, dude?
That's where I would just feel comfortable.
You got $450.
Yeah, not bad.
So 200, that'd be 20 grand in. All right, you know what? I'm taking another 450. I'm taking that one.
Nick with 2 points.
Did your boy just make $3,000 for free?
Oh man. It's going to be an interesting one on CT with people like cheering for Circle to continue to go up and then cheering against Nick's. I'm literally
sitting on the opposite side of the table of you, Nick. I'm just like, press go up. Press go up.
Well, no, that
is my position.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Easy.
I'm selling the put.
Oh, you're selling? Okay, fine.
So I'm basically saying that I like, without buying this, I don't have to buy the stock to make money, basically. So if I bought 100 shares of this, I'd make the same amount if the stock went up another $20, but I'd have to put in $25,000 in this case in order to make that. But right now, I mean, the stock is going up heavy. And had I done this last week, I'd have $3,000.
I think Clemente is in production on a gritty dance for Circle. I heard.
No.
I don't want Clemente anywhere near my stock. No.
My the accounting on these puts are ridiculous, but I'm doing pretty well on this. I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see how this goes. The fact that the problem is Circle hit my target price, or it's approximately at it. This says the market cap's 52. I said the target market cap would be 60 billion. So I sold out of my position last week, and it still continued to go up. But I sold in advance. 1 second. I want to just see if Yahoo's in agreement on this market cap. No, it's not. Yahoo says we're at 62 billion, so we're above. Trading View says 52 billion, so there's some error in terms of this reporting.
Yeah, I don't know. This report's on like a certain time frame. It doesn't update in live time.
Yeah, so we're over what my target price is. We're basically sitting there. So I would not be buying this at this point in time. And Easy wanted to short it, which I like. But the problem is shorting ain't an easy game. It's not for the weak-hearted. Usually you get wrecked on shorts, and you need to be able to hold the position long enough for it to materialize to what your target is. And in a market like this, which is just continuing to pump it beyond what I think is anywhere near reasonable, you got yourself a situation. You got yourself a situation.
Yep, we've been talking about Circle a decent amount. I think we're pretty much covered there. Last thing I want to cover today, I want to break down some Bitcoin Treasury acquisitions. Over the last week, Metaplan had acquired another 1,100 Bitcoin, a little over 100 mil. Cardone Capital, Grant Cardone's company, about the same amount of Bitcoin, about 100 mil worth of Bitcoin. We saw another.
Sorry, was that what?
Grant
Cardone Cap. Are they a publicly traded company?
The 100X guy?
Yeah. Are they publicly traded, Ray?
I don't believe so.
So they're just coming out with a random statement.
Yep. And then in terms of a publicly traded company, we had Sequans Capital on the New York Stock Exchange, SQNS. Plans to raise $384 million to launch a Bitcoin treasury. The headline, though, was Pompliano. Anthony Pompliano announced that he is going creating a crypto venture, Procap Financial, to go public via SPAC. This came out this morning. Company will have Bitcoin worth up to $1 billion on its balance sheet. It's going to close before the end of 2025. Merger with Blank Check Vehicle, Columbus Circle Capital Corp, CCCM. This broke this morning. So Pompliano going public via SPAC here. We're going to see more and more of this, I imagine. Any thoughts on this?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, any thoughts on this, Nick?
Well, I have thoughts on Grant Cardone. Apparently, they have $5 billion under management, but I don't know what their actual revenue is. So it's interesting that they're spending They're claiming that they're going to spend $300 million this year on Bitcoin. Is he just like making this up? Like,
you just don't understand it, Nick. It's fine. You just don't get it.
It just seems ridiculous that they're suggesting this. Yeah. Anyways, in terms of Pompliano, well, Pio was hating on Pomp in our Slack. Not to put him out there, not to not to expose,
not to air
Pio.
him out, not to throw him.
But
they ain't gonna be friends.
So yeah, I don't know about this is just everyone's just trying to do the Bitcoin Treasury company trade. I think the Bitcoin Treasury play is getting exhausted at this point in time. There are way too many of these.
Bruh, it's so diluted right now. Oh man, it's like someone's putting anyway, whatever. I can't even think of an analogy for it. It's such a bad trade to go. No, I mean,
it's like
diluted.
They're putting their little puppy in the hot car and closing the windows. That's what's going on right now. And are you going to treat your puppy like that? Are you going to go after? You're going to grab a poodle and put him in the car like that? Let him bake? I mean, that's fucked up. That's fucked up, Pomp.
It is. So actually, I am baking right now because the aircon has died in this room. But anyway, whatever. I just think like these Bitcoin treasury plays coming out from coffee shops, individuals, 10x, and 10x again. It's just like there's so much better crypto plays out there. And I think like an example of Circle debuting at around, I think it was like $35. And then within the space of a couple of weeks now hitting 240. Like those are the kind of strong crypto plays that, anyone who has been in this space should have clicked the button and bought. I personally, for me, that was such an obvious buy because where else could you have got stable coin exposure on the stock market? You couldn't. They are the only ones who could do that. And I just feel like that was not the last opportunity. Even if you miss Circle and you feel like, okay, now it's too high, I want to short. I think look for these golden, strong crypto companies that are going to come out, and they are going to come out in the next 12 to 18 months. And you just got to have your capital ready to deploy, click the button, rather than going into these diluted Bitcoin treasury plays coming out from Bob, Joe, and Margaret Venture Capital. Bob, Joe, and Margaret Venture Capital with a Bitcoin treasury.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that these are a little diluted.
I'm down to invest in Maggie.
Maggie's good. I got Kathy.
Well, Maggie's the nickname for Margaret, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maggie Ventures. Yeah. She's got a Bitcoin treasury as well.
Look, I have this bad habit of investing in women. You know, that's like that's such a stupid, apparently outdated way of doing things, and that's where I've lost all my money.
They're an
On that
expensive.
note-
They're an expensive commodity. Those women.
On that note, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all for joining. It's been a lovely Monday. We do the show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. You can catch us on all major podcasting platforms.
That's fucked up.
You can catch us on YouTube. You can see what we're talking about in real time. Catch us again tomorrow. We'll see you. Thank you all.